Have you ever looked at your garden and felt frustrated because no matter what you do, your plants just don't thrive? You water them, you feed them, you follow all the guides online, but the soil remains weak, lifeless, and unproductive. Imagine for a moment if there was a simple, almost forgotten trick that could completely transform your soil, revive it, and allow your garden to flourish beyond anything you've seen before. What if I told you that a single copper wire, something almost anyone has lying around, could revive dead soil and even triple your harvest? Today, you're about to discover exactly how this works, why it's so powerful, and how you can apply it in your own garden to achieve results that seem almost magical but are grounded in science, tradition, and years of practical experience. Before we dive in, I want you to picture your soil. Close your eyes and imagine the rich, dark earth that farmers have revered for centuries. Now compare it to the soil in most modern gardens. Often compacted, nutrient-depleted, and nearly lifeless. You might have been using fertilizers, compost, or other traditional methods, yet the soil barely responds. This is because healthy soil is alive, teeming with microorganisms, fungi, and complex interactions that nourish plants from the roots up. Without a living ecosystem, no matter how much fertilizer you add, your plants can only grow so far. That's where the copper wire method comes, in a way to reactivate your soil and bring it back to life naturally. Without expensive chemicals or complicated equipment, the idea of using copper in agriculture is not new. Ancient farmers, especially in regions of Europe and Asia, recognized copper's subtle yet profound effects on soil. They observed that placing copper near plant roots or integrating it into the soil seemed to encourage stronger growth, better nutrient uptake, and healthier plants overall. Modern science has begun to confirm what these early gardeners intuitively knew. Copper interacts with soil microbiome, influencing the balance of bacteria and fungi in ways that promote nutrient availability. Think of it as a gentle signal to the microorganisms that tells them it's time to wake up and start working. Now, let's get practical. The first step is to assess your soil. Is it compacted, dry, or lifeless? Does it fail to retain water properly? Does it seem infertile despite your efforts? These are the signs of soil that is struggling and would benefit from this method. You don't need a fancy lab test, just observe your garden. Dead, clumpy soil, poor root penetration, and lackluster plant growth are your cues. Once you've identified the problem, you're ready to implement the copper wire technique. You'll need a simple copper wire, preferably about 1 to 2 millimeters in thickness. This can often be found in old electrical cables, scraps from construction, or even from items around your house. Make sure it's clean copper, free from coatings or insulation, because pure copper is what interacts with the soil ecosystem. Cut it into manageable pieces, about 20 to 30 centimeters long, depending on your planting area. The beauty of this method is that it is scalable whether you're working with a small balcony garden or a large backyard. The principle remains the same. Next, preparation! Start by loosening the soil slightly, but not excessively. You want the copper wire to come into direct contact with the soil particles and the microorganisms living there. Place the wires either vertically in the soil near the root zones of your plants or wrap them lightly around stems or trunks of perennial plants. This creates a subtle electromagnetic effect, enhancing microbial activity and nutrient cycling. Don't overdo it too much. Copper can actually be harmful. 1 or 2 pieces per plant or per square meter is typically enough to see remarkable results. Once installed, water the soil lightly. This is not just to settle the wires. It's also to help distribute the trace copper ions through the soil. Over the next few days, you may start to notice subtle changes. The soil feels more crumbly, smells richer, and retains moisture better. This is the microbial community waking up and beginning to do its work. Within a few weeks, you may start to see vibrant new growth in your plants. Leaves appear greener, stems stronger, and flowers more abundant. The soil is literally coming back to life. What makes this method so fascinating is that it works on multiple levels. First, it enhances microbial activity, allowing beneficial bacteria and fungi to process nutrients more efficiently. Second, it improves soil structure, making it easier for roots to penetrate and absorb water. Third, it reduces the need for chemical fertilizers, because the soil itself is now able to provide nutrients in a natural, balanced way. Many gardeners report tripling their harvest without any additional inputs, simply by activating the soil. Let's pause for a moment and talk about the science behind this. Copper is a micronutrient for plants and microorganisms. In tiny, controlled amounts, it plays a critical role in enzymatic reactions, photosynthesis, and disease resistance. The wire acts as a steady source of trace copper ions, slowly releasing them into the soil over time. Unlike traditional fertilizers that flood the soil with nutrients in an unnatural way, the copper wire method encourages a gradual, natural enrichment, creating a sustainable environment for your garden. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds too simple to work. And you're right sometimes. The simplest solutions are the most overlooked. Most gardening techniques focus on adding more fertilizer, more water, more amendments. But what if the real secret is less is more? The copper wire doesn't force the soil to do anything. It simply stimulates the natural processes already present but dormant. This is why results are so dramatic. You're not creating growth artificially. You're letting the soil do what it was always meant to do. In the next phase, let's talk about timing for annual plants. Inserting the wires before planting allows the soil to begin its transformation as soon as the roots enter the ground. For perennials, you can add the wires around established plants during early spring, before the growth season begins. The goal is to integrate the copper in a way that supports the natural growth cycle, rather than interfering with it. Another critical tip: observe and adjust. Every garden is unique, and soil conditions vary widely. Some gardeners may notice results in as little as 2 weeks, while others might take a full month to see the first signs of improvement. Be patient, but remain attentive. Check soil moisture, root development, and overall plant health regularly. The copper wire is a catalyst, but you are still guiding the process through proper watering, sun, exposure, and care. Let's address common mistakes. First, do not use coated wires or alloys. These can release harmful substances into the soil. Second, avoid placing too much copper in a concentrated area. More is not better in this case. Balance is key. Third, don't expect instant miracles. The soil works at its own pace, but if you follow the method correctly, the transformation is inevitable. As the weeks go by, you'll notice a remarkable transformation, not only in the plants, but in the soil itself. The once compacted, dry, and lifeless earth becomes crumbly, aerated, and fragrant, full of life. Worms, insects, and beneficial microorganisms return. Water retention improves naturally, reducing the need for frequent irrigation. And most importantly, your harvests begin to increase, sometimes dramatically. Lettuce grows faster, tomatoes become juicier, and fruits are larger and more abundant. But the benefits don't stop there. This method is sustainable and cost-effective. Copper wires are cheap, reusable, and long-lasting. Once installed, they can continue to support the soil for multiple seasons. Unlike chemical fertilizers, that must be constantly reapplied. This technique works with nature, amplifying its own processes rather than overriding them. Now, let's explore some real-world examples. Gardeners around the world, from small backyard growers to professional farmers, have started applying copper wires with astonishing results. One gardener in Italy reported that his tomato harvest increased by 3 times compared to previous years, with no additional fertilizers. Another gardener in Brazil saw a previously barren plot bloom into a vibrant vegetable garden. These are not isolated incidents. They reflect the underlying truth. Reviving soil is the ultimate key to abundant harvests, and copper wire is a simple, accessible tool to achieve that. To this point, you might be wondering, Can this work in any type of soil? The answer is yes, though results vary. Sandy soils benefit from improved microbial activity and water retention. Clay soils become more aerated and friable. Loamy soils, already rich, see a boost in nutrient cycling and plant vigor. In every Kazi, the copper wire acts as a catalyst, accelerating natural processes rather than forcing them. Let's also consider the environmental impact. Modern agriculture often relies heavily on chemical fertilizers, which can leach into waterways, harm beneficial insects, and degrade soil over time. By using copper wires, you reduce dependency on these chemicals, promoting a healthier, more balanced ecosystem in your garden. It's a method that is not only effective but also eco-friendly, aligning with principles of regenerative gardening. Another advantage: this technique works across plant types. Vegetables, fruits, herbs, and even flowers respond positively. Perennials thrive year after year. Annuals grow faster, and even delicate seedlings gain strength. Copper wires create a foundation for soil that supports life in a holistic, sustainable way. Now, let's address a final point: combining this method with other natural techniques. Adding compost, mulch, or cover crops can enhance the effects of the copper wire, but it is not required. The wire alone is sufficient to stimulate microbial activity and improve soil structure. However, for gardeners looking to maximize results, integrating other natural amendments can create a truly extraordinary garden. In conclusion, the secret is simple. A single copper wire placed correctly in your soil can wake up dormant microorganisms, improve nutrient availability, enhance water retention, and ultimately triple your harvest. It's a method that has been overlooked, underestimated, and almost forgotten, but now you have the knowledge to apply it in your own garden. Imagine walking into your garden a few weeks from now. The soil is rich and dark. Your plants are healthy and robust, and the harvest exceeds anything you've experienced before. All it took was a simple, inexpensive wire and the understanding of how soil truly works. This is the future of gardening, letting nature do the work with just a subtle nudge from a copper wire. So, don't wait. Gather your wire, prepare your soil, and begin the transformation today. Observe, care, and watch as your dead soil comes back to life and as your harvest grows larger, stronger, and more abundant than ever. And remember, this is not just a trick, it's a revolution in gardening, a return to natural principles that have been used for centuries, waiting for you to rediscover. By applying this method, you're not only revitalizing your garden, you're joining a movement of gardeners who understand that the key to abundance lies beneath the surface. The soil is alive, and with a little guidance, it will reward you with harvests beyond your imagination.